Just because I can. I play the music just because I can. I'm buying some time. We got about 2.5 minutes, and then we're joining Kelly Cutrara on AM640 Toronto. We'll be talking to her audience about stuff and things. There's some questions they have, and we're here to answer them. So it's kind of what we do. This is part 2 for the day because we did our Ask a Traffic Cop live stream for our viewers. And of course, we're doing it again for our viewers, but also for Kelly's viewers or listeners because they're on the radio. Everybody else sees me. Yeah. Great when we can connect with our friends in radio. And this is every other week I jump on the air with Kelly, and it's always a lot of fun. So strap in. It'll be a few minutes, and then we'll be live. We'll do 2 segments. And if you've got questions, in case Kelly says, "Hey, what's happening on TikTok?" I want to be able to give an answer. So ask me a question. Put it into the chat. We'll go from there. Chase is back. That's awesome. What is that? Is it a zombie? Is that a zombie icon? I'm not sure. It's too funny. Okay. Jeremy says, "Hey, brother, keep up the good work. You're the best one out there." Well, thank you very much, Jeremy. Much appreciated. I am just the one with the big microphone here on TikTok and all the other platforms. You're coming in from LinkedIn. LinkedIn is awesome. We have audience everywhere because we are simultaneously broadcasting on all these different places. It really does give us some reach, and it's awesome to be able to engage with so many different people in so many different places.
Last one, Sean.
There we go. That was the heads up. We're going on. Hey, Tracy. Professor Gill from Singapore. How's it going? Hello from Chicago.
Listening to the Kelly Cutrara Show, 900 CHML in Hamilton, 980 CFPL in London, and 640 Toronto in the Big Smoke. Good to have you along. And as always, every second Thursday, we make time for Sean Shapiro, the TikTok traffic cop, to join the show. Welcome back.
It's so nice to be here. It's been a while.
I know it has been a while, about 2 weeks. Let me ask you this. This concerns something that we were just talking about on the show. It's a pilot project that will launch 2 Wednesdays from now. And it will involve 27 parks. You'll be allowed to drink if you're 19 or older in the park. Now, you're not going to be able to get out a hand or anything ridiculous. But there are people that think this will lead to more drinking and driving. What do you think?
We have an issue with people who choose to drink and drive, regardless of where they're getting their alcohol. And I don't know if having a park being a destination will make much of a change. But you know what? We're going to continue to monitor. We're always looking for those who choose to make poor decisions, whether it be before they get in the car or when they're in the car. So we'll see where it goes. I couldn't predict whether or not it'll actually make an impact or not.
Okay, let's start on drinking. Let's stay on drinking and driving for a second. This is just unbelievable. Dave, are you ready with the audio here? Okay, perfect. There is a video that's up at 640toronto.com's I think it's on our website, and I think it's also on our 640 Toronto Instagram feed. And it shows an Ontario police officer arresting a drunk driver who has passed out at the wheel. He's 5 times the legal limit. Here's the audio.
I know it's just some.
You guys didn't even recognize me pulling up behind you with a fully marked cruiser at lights.
I'm okay.
Well, I don't think you're okay. How much did you have to drink today?
Nothing.
Yeah, he was 5 times over the legal limit. It's unbelievable, Sean. Not just only that was one drink driving story we've got. We've got 2 others that I'll fire your way in a second. But is this becoming more prevalent, or are we just more privy to it? Because, we have the cops with dash cams, and everybody else has dash cams, and people have, recording devices in their pockets.
I think that this has been a constant. The people who choose to do this will always choose to do this. We can do our best with education, and I think we've gone and done great strides, and the education has never been where it is now. People know that this is wrong, but there's some who choose not to, or they have a sickness. They have an addiction. They can't control themselves. sadly, many people want to do the right thing, but don't make the plans in advance, and then don't ask a drunk person to make good decisions because, well, they're drunk. So there's so many different things that lend into why people get behind the wheel of a motor vehicle. Some of them just don't want to leave their car behind. But we have fantastic infrastructure, transit systems, options, Uber, taxi, buses, and then people still make the bad decisions, and we catch them.
Yeah, well, and we catch them with the help of civilians, like the person that called in the possible drinking and driving of that driver that was 5 times over the legal limit that you just heard there. And then there was another call to police to call in a driver that was arrested. They were over the limit as well. They had a interesting person or partner in their passenger side. It was a duck riding shotgun. I don't know if the duck was theirs, but the duck is safe. If you suspect someone's driving while impaired, what should you do?
Well, absolutely. This is a call to 911. It is an emergency. If you think it's something that a lot of people have the suspicion in their gut, they think it's an impaired driver, but they're scared to call because maybe they're just on their phone. You know what? Regardless, if you think this person is a risk to themselves or others, call 911. We are more than happy to go and respond, and we will investigate. I've called for vehicles on my drive home from work, and I've followed along. Police have come, investigated. Sometimes they're just really tired. Sometimes they're really drunk. At the end of the day, it's worth the investigation. You won't get into any trouble, even if it's not an impaired driver. And you got to know that you're allowed to use the phone. Even if you don't have a Bluetooth, if you're calling 911 for an emergency, you can use your phone because it's a priority call.
Yeah, and whatever you do, don't hang up. They will call you back. I had this happen to me. I was driving up to the cottage on the Bruce Peninsula, and I suspected that this person was driving while impaired. And so I called. And then I was just in a weird place where the phone dropped. And then I, waited until I had service again. And then I called, reported it. And then the OPP called me back and said, "Hey, did you call 911?" And so we went through it because I obviously got a different dispatcher, but they want you to stay on the line.
Absolutely. And they have an obligation to find out if you're okay because sometimes you're waiting on hold. They don't know why you're calling 911. When that line drops, they're going to call you back just to make sure it was not a situation where you needed help and couldn't get it.
Okay, so police say a man from Southern Ontario he's from Brampton to be exact, was driving 180 kilometers on Highway 11 up near Smooth Rock Falls. And this is unbelievable. I mean, he was in a 90 kilometer an hour zone. His car was taken away for 14 days. He received a 30-day driver's license suspension. And, do you think, I mean, we hear about this all the time. Is a lesson learned from that, or do we have to get a little more heavy-handed?
Well, that's just the administrative instantaneous roadside suspension that occurs when you're charged with stunt driving. But there's more that comes when you're found guilty in court. If that was their first conviction, or when they finally get to court, they're convicted for the first time, they're subject to a $2,000 to $10,000 fine, a 1 to 3 year driving prohibition, and up to 6 months in jail. If they do it again because they don't learn the first time, well, aside from the fact that they're going to have incredibly high insurance rates, if they get convicted for the same thing again, they're looking at the same $2,000 to $10,000, but this time a 3 to 10 year driving prohibition, and the 6 months in jail is an option for the court as well. Finally, if they do it a third time because it's really not sinking in, they're looking at a lifetime prohibition as well as all the other stuff we mentioned earlier.
Okay, this is a really weird text I just received, but somebody asked if it's actually illegal to run over a Canadian geese. Or Canadian geese. Wait, first of all, why would you want to run over a goose?
I believe it's a protected bird. And I remember, was it a seagull that was also protected because a baseball player once upon a time got charged for having a baseball hit a bird? You can't obviously intentionally. If in the course of a collision it happens, I doubt you'd be charged, but it's possible.
Our resident baseball fan said it's Randy Johnson that was fined, I think, for doing that. Didn't he hit him like he threw a ball at him?
I don't know if it was a pitcher or a throw, or if it was a baseball and bat situation. Either way, bad day at the office for both the bird and the player.
Wow. Okay. Well, I appreciate that, Sean. We're going to open up the phone lines at 416-870-6400, 1-888-225-TALK. Also, you can text at 416-870-6400. If you have a traffic-related or highway-related question for our TikTok traffic cop, then we'll get to it. I'm getting contrary, and this sounds right to me. Dave Winfield did it. Killed a seagull. Does that sound right to you?
The seagull part
sort of, yeah. I also remember Randy Johnson doing it.
Okay. I remember Winfield doing it, and I think he threw a ball at it. Maybe our texter will text me back and let me know how that seagull was killed.
I remember it too. I think he threw the ball to sort of scare them away, and he accidentally killed one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't go well. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the TikTok traffic cop.
And we're out for a minute or two for however long news and adverts and whatever's going on Radio Land. So it's just me and you for a couple minutes. So let's have a look and see what's happening in the chat. I see that Chase has been feverishly typing. So he's back, happy face. Let's see here. Oh, when can we get the new chief on? Well, I've had a chat with the chief, and he's open to it. He's just a busy guy. So we don't have a date. I actually have to, you know what, thank you for making that. I got to write an email to the chief, at least to his office, and see what his schedule is like. Now that we're in the new space, I think it's a perfect time. And Chase, you're right. It was York Regional Police who made that arrest. I watched the video. It was pretty good. That is not an unusual arrest. It was picture perfect, I think. But wow. It's the things you see on the road as a police officer. I'm glad that York shares these clips. I think they're fantastic. They do a really good job, and I told them that themselves because I've met the folks that are involved with their media relations team. They do really good work. Kudos to them. What is this? Oh, and you make a very good point also, as I just read all the Chase comments. If you have a conviction, a criminal conviction, you would be inadmissible to many countries, the United States being one of them. That really changes your travel. You can't go to Disney. And then what's the world without Disney? For my kids, it would be a big deal. Okay. Looking over to the other stuff. This is now me looking at TikTok. This is where I don't have a producer in the afternoon, so speed cameras next to road. Interesting. Tracy's in there along with Emma, answering questions left, right, and center. Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. Barry, what's happening? Why does Ontario have 3 different licenses when no other province does? Are you talking about the graduate licensing program? It's a great way to ensure that people are getting a better education. You know, when I was a kid, I turned 16, I got my learners, and I was nearly instantaneously granted a G like 30 days later. Robert, how are you? Coming in from YouTube, he says a very good afternoon from the Netherlands. Good, sir. Well, thank you very much. I love it when we go international, and based on time shift or time zones, it tends to be when we go live later in the day that we get to hear the most from our international audience. Love it. Let's see here. Can motorcycles go in the HOV lane alone? They can in Ontario, yes. 400 series highways allow it. Our multi-lane diamond lanes in the city of Toronto allow it if it's on the sign. Those aren't really HOV lanes, they're multi-use, and it depends on what the sign says. And comments from Chase that the graduate licensing program sounds good, but there are many bad drivers. You know what? There's bad drivers any which way you cut it. But I was recently giving a lecture to some of my fine friends at the military and the Canadian Armed Forces, and we talked about the fact that other countries have much more strict licensing qualifications. And
you got a minute, Sean.
1 minute, thank you very much. And maybe we need that here because we keep making it easier to get licensed because we just want to get them through. But then we have the result being not such great results. We have people who get behind the wheel of a car that maybe shouldn't. So it's an interesting question, but whether or not that continues to happen that way is not up to me. It's up to other people. So talk to your counselors, your MPs. Interesting discussions. Okay, we're going to go silent for a sec before we go back on the air. It's the Muppet Show. I shouldn't. What was in my samosas? And these samosas that are leaching through the bag. Fundraiser. It was a fundraiser.
To the Kelly Cutrara Show. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the feedback. Sean Shapiro's here with us, the TikTok traffic cop. And Sean, it's just incredible what people grab onto when you're on the air. Everybody commenting. It was Dave Winfield when he was a Yankee before coming to Toronto to play for the Blue Jays, says Wendy. He was charged, but it was thrown out of court with regard to the killing of the seagull. Anyhow, let's get back to the roads if we could. I've got a really interesting text that I want to read here. This is may take a bit to wrap your head around it. Okay, here it is. Regarding the red light cameras, if you stop at a red light in a dedicated left turn lane with a dedicated left turn light, and there's a green light to go straight, but the left turn light is still red, and you turn left anyways, will the red light camera issue you a ticket, and will the proceeding officer send the ticket out? It's messy, I know, but hope it makes sense.
That is a complicated question. So, sorry, it's a left turn dedicated lane and a green light for everybody else?
Yeah, it's a green light to go straight. Your light is, the green light is still red. The left-hand turn is still red.
Although the program, the automated enforcement program, is not run by the Toronto Police at the City of Toronto, I don't believe that would qualify. Essentially, you need to be traveling or crossing over the stop bar when the light is already red in order for that to trigger. But I don't believe a turn lane would be factored into that.
That's interesting. All right. I appreciate you clarifying that. It is a weird one. Let's go to Dave in Brampton. Dave, welcome to the Kelly Cutrara Show.
Hi. Without getting into too much detail, just bad driving in general, especially in Brampton where I drive a lot. Probably the worst I saw recently was someone late at night doing 100K through stop signs in a 40 zone. I'm wondering, obviously I can't imagine you not agreeing with this, but can you enlighten me as to why there isn't more police presence? My thoughts are more police presence would deter people from driving or being horribly, sloppy, recklessly, and dangerously. And I think it's the city or municipality that just doesn't want to put the money out for it and puts us all at risk. What are your thoughts?
Well, I got to tell you, I'd love more police everywhere. I'm obviously pro-police. I think that we do great work and we just need more people doing more great work. It's hard to hire people right now. Police services across the province, if not the planet, are trying to hire people. It seems to be that we're not as popular a profession as we once were. So if you know somebody who's looking, we're looking. Now, when it comes to enforcement, that's a great thing to do outside of the other vast variety of jobs that we do. You know, especially at night, we tend to get an increase in certain types of calls, and it's not traffic-related enforcement opportunities. It's people who are having domestic violence situations or assaults or robbery. There's so much going on. So available police, as opposed to simply having more police, because for the more we have, the more people will be going to calls. We're very rarely just hanging around waiting for something to happen. And some of the enforcement duties feel like that. We're going to an area and we're hoping to come across someone. So just sitting on a stop sign isn't really an effective use of time. We might go to somewhere that may be a little more populated, where where statistically we know there's going to be an issue. Now, there are opportunities in automated enforcement that could cover a lot of these things. There's a stop sign in Washington, D.C. I think it's generated over $3 million for a stop sign. And that's something that they have there. They even have, I think it's crosswalk automated enforcement. So, you know, there's technology around that's being tested around the world that might really help us. But, you know, whether or not there's a flavor to use that here is another story.
Sean, what's the charge for standing up in your car? Because I'm glad Dave called from Brampton. It jarred my memory that I saw this online. Two people in Brampton, two different cars with people standing through the sunroof while driving.
So right off the bat, those persons who are not in seatbelts would be eligible for seatbelt tickets. And some might think it would end there. However, I would argue that that is dangerous driving, a criminal offense for the driver who is taking place or taking part in an activity that is known to be dangerous. So I would likely proceed with a criminal charge for the driver.
All right. Interesting. Even if they're not the one standing up.
They're choosing to operate that motor vehicle,
all right,
despite the fact that people are not properly seated.
Okay, well, let's get back to the red light cameras. Steve in Toronto, you have a question about red light cameras.
Hi, yes, good morning, Kelly. I recently got nailed for a red light camera, but I was making a right-hand turn. And I guess you can see, like, the speed on the ticket or whatnot, but I was making a right-hand turn on a red, but if I didn't come to a complete stop, it nailed me. So I was wondering, can a red light camera, like, nail you for that? Because it's like a $300 ticket, and I was wondering if, like, there's any chance to fight these cameras or do, like, early resolution. I was just wondering what your insight is on that.
So the deal is that in order for you to make a right turn on a red light, you're required to come to a complete stop prior to crossing that stop line and then making your right turn when it's safe to do so. You're not allowed to drive through a red light to make a right turn. It happens all the time, and I've heard of stories where people have hit gone around the block 4 times and received 4 red light camera tickets for making right turns on reds. You have to come to a complete stop, and only then are you legally allowed to make your right turn.
And I think a while ago you told us that you should feel the weight, your weight shift, from front to back, and then you've come to a complete stop. But listen, Steve, I feel your pain. I got a red light ticket once, and you just choke it down, pay the $3.25, and you just will never get one again because you're always aware.
And there are no demerit points. It's simply a cash cost.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate the call. All right, let's move on to Pete in Oshawa. Another animal question. Pete?
Well, it opened a can of worms with the Canada Goose question.
I see what you did there.
I know in Quebec, a girl was convicted of dangerous driving causing death or something to that effect, got a 2-year sentence because she stopped because there were a group of ducks and ducklings going across the road on the highway, and a father with his daughter on the motorcycle ran into the back of their car some 20 seconds later. So my question is, if you're able to avoid running over an animal, obviously a goose probably isn't going to kill you. But if there's a moose on the road or a deer that's just standing there and you come to a complete stop, why am I getting charged because the guy behind me isn't paying attention and runs into the back of the car?
Every situation is going to be different, but here's the deal. You're responsible for everything you do on your vehicle, and if you're doing something that is unsafe, you're going to be held responsible for it. Saving the life. Now, a moose is a unique situation. That's going to kill someone who hits it, or very likely could. If you're talking about saving a cat, a mouse, a dog, whatever you see on the road, and that puts other lives at risk, you're responsible for that. I remember back when I took young drivers courses as a kid, they said you don't put human life in front of an animal's life. You have to make the hard choice to do what's right for keeping humans alive.
Appreciate the question. Great animal-related question from Pete. All right, let's move on to Michael in Toronto. Michael, your question for Sean Shapiro.
Yeah, the other day it took me 25 minutes to go from front to Queen going north. It took me almost a half an hour because all the idiots at Richmond and Adelaide going east or west, they enter the intersection and they block it. And then your light turns and it's green and nobody can move because the intersection is blocked.
Blocking the box.
It's the number one problem for congestion in Toronto, and I never see police giving tickets to these idiots.
Well, look at how many intersections they'd have to stand at.
Yeah, but there's a few. But let's be honest. It only takes, there's about 5 or 6 major ones downtown that are the major culprits, like at Spadina in front. Like
you know what? There's more than 5 or 6, Michael, because even Jarvis and Lakeshore.
Sorry. So how come I don't see more police giving tickets to these idiots?
Well, those things cause traffic congestion. There's no doubt that kind of activity, that selfish driving behavior. And I understand why some people do this. Not that I condone it, but they jump in to make sure they don't get cut off, because if they don't go, then the next person making the right turn jumps in, and the resulting is someone's going to be blocking the box, so why shouldn't it be me? And you're right, there should be more enforcement. I totally support that. We don't have enough officers to focus on these things versus the stuff that people are getting their lives put at risk at. Slowing people down is a lower priority than saving lives. Now,
I feel his pain. It is tough. It is tough, but there's just so many intersections that this is happening at.
Now,
and quite frankly, as a driver, if you're not out in that intersection, it's not going to happen for you. And people are going to be freaking out behind you. It's a major problem in the city of Toronto. Sean, I appreciate your time. As always, we'll talk again in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And just remember, City of Toronto has traffic wardens that might be helping these situations soon. But we'll see you again soon. Take care.
All right. Cheers. That's Sean Shapiro, our TikTok traffic cop.
Yeah, radio has that time frame thing. They have to make it squeeze. I'm like, I got to finish my thought. So hopefully I squeezed it in there. It's a tough situation because we don't have people to simply drop officers in every corner. That would be great if we could do that. Can't do that. It's not reasonable. But I think that the traffic warden program has real potential, and maybe they'll start putting them in these areas, because then just like in New York City, they got wardens all over the place. Now they're the white hat officers in NYPD. Oh, hang on. I got someone who wants to say they think that they are a barnyard animal, but I think they might be trying to be offensive, so I'll just block them. They put all these little piggies down here. Like, I think they like piggies. Piggies are cute. A friend of mine used to have, I knew a girl named Chava who had a pet pig. Cutest thing ever. Anyway, yeah. If I only had feelings, I'd be offended by people who put emojis. It's been a slice. I will be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for Friday. That's what we do every Friday. We celebrate Friday by doing everything we do every day, except we smile more. We have better dad jokes. Oh, we didn't do any dad jokes today. Anyway, what can you do? I'm signing off because I've got to go do an interview with another news agency. We'll catch you later. Have a great day. Stay safe. Drive sober. Don't block the box if you're driving downtown. It upsets that guy on the radio. Actually, it's